On behalf of UN Habitat, I would like to sincerely thank the International Growth Center, the World Bank, and all other partners and participants for organizing and participating in this high-level session on Urbanization and Poverty Conference with a focus on urban land challenges in developing countries. I'd have loved to be with you in person, but due to other commitments, I'm unable to. Thank you for inviting me to be part of this important discussion. The international community has placed urbanization clearly at the core as an accelerator to achieving inclusive sustainable development. Specifically, the New Urban Agenda and the SDGs, especially Goal 11, brings this out clearly. I'm pleased that in this session, we have policymakers and researchers reflecting on how best we can take advantage of urbanization given this political focus and see how knowledge, evidence-based research, practical specialized expertise in this field can guide policymakers and implementers to get us to the desired result of inclusive, safe, and sustainable development. This is because for urbanization to truly be an accelerator to inclusive, sustainable development, we need to bring together the science of urbanization through research and the art through policy leaders together and ensure the following key components. 1, enhance the proximity of factors of production through planning for compact, connected, and integrated urbanization. Secondly, inclusive governance to enhance creativity and innovation through a diversity of interaction of human interaction and accessibility to public space and local governance. And 3, mobility to enable inclusive access and affordability to basic services, housing, and other basic infrastructure. To specifically address the theme on urban land challenges in developing countries, key factors to consider are: first, inclusive, transparent land governance and administration is a prerequisite to achieving sustainable urbanization. Unfortunately, from our work with various partners, including the World Bank, in the Global Land 2 network, only about 30% of land in developing countries is registered formally, and in some countries in Africa, it's less than 2%. The need to maximize land use with integrated territorial urban planning is another factor. And this has to be done with clear urban-rural linkages to ensure compact, connected, and integrated cities, towns, and other human settlements with adequate public space. Unfortunately, the structure of urbanization is worrying today. While on one hand, land is very underutilized, on the other, the percentage of public space is very low, sometimes as low as 1% in the slums. Furthermore, there is a lack of alignment of integrated national urban policies with financing for socioeconomic development, especially given the rapid population growth in cities. This results in increasing inequality, spatial segregation, and poor access and affordability to basic services such as housing, public health, education, and other basic infrastructure. The primary causes of these structural challenges are many, but I want to highlight a few. 1 is the lack of integrated national policies that bring together spatial planning for urbanization, governance and management, especially on land, and urban economy. Policies do exist in many countries, but they are sectoral. And even we as UN Habitat for long, we have been addressing these sectors of housing and urban planning, infrastructure separately, but not from a deep integrated policy analysis. Urbanization is an art. It is human, and it's therefore unique. We need to contextualize it in the different communities, countries, even as we uphold the global guidelines. Hence, this is an area where we are reaching out as UN Habitat to researchers, policymakers, and financiers at all levels, global, regional, city, to work together and invest in disaggregated data analysis to appropriately advise the policymakers and support them in utilizing the new urban agenda to ensure sustainable, inclusive development. Adequate platforms with multidisciplinary partners convening to address these issues at the various levels of governance is also missing. I want to thank again the organizers of this conference for enabling this exchange, and I'd like to propose we scale it up. Policy needs to be guided by science and research, but also practical tools and cross-learning. Hence, with our World Urban Forum platform that I'm sure you know, the Executive Director, Madame Maimona, is opening up to other UN agencies and partners to make it a true learning platform, after which we all have a clear implementation strategy to do the same at the various levels. We need clarity on accountability and a connection between political capital and investment. Again here, UN Habitat is engaged with the World Bank to establish a platform that will bring in the UN system, which will be coordinated by UN Habitat, to advise governments on the right urban policies and align this policy advice with investment, especially in infrastructure and economic growth. This is now part of the urban window of what you may have heard. It's called the Joint SDG Fund. My appeal for all of you is to join us in making use of this opportunity. In addition, the Secretary General every 4 years will be reporting on the implementation of the new urban agenda. And this needs to be informed from the city, country level up. I hope we can work together in this particular area in order to monitor, review, and continue learning from one another in this exciting period. We need a special focus on the capacity at local government level, which is where the implementation takes place. The kind of discussion we're having here would certainly be beneficial at city level. As former mayor, I can confidently say that it would add value, as mayors are with their short-term mandates and with many major and urgent needs. In many cases, they are lost in day-to-day running of the city. But what is discussed here is the long-term thinking. Breaking this into shorter to medium-term plans, clearly bringing together communities, even from poor sectors, with disaggregated data analysis from our researchers, identifying pockets of poverty and utilizing political will to make the relevant policy reviews and implementation, and connecting this with financing and investment promotion would unleash great potential. What should the researchers focus on today? First of all, I would like to commend the research that has been done on inclusive land governance and security of tenure, which actually now enabled us to focus and have this included in the Sustainable Development Goals, goal number 1. There is great potential in the implementation of the principle of inclusive continuum of land rights. We need to invest in research to make this more known and applicable in the different parts of the world, with a specific focus on those most marginalized, the poor, and also in crisis. I'm pleased to share with you that the same tools have already been used by UN Habitat and our partners in Iraq, DRC, Zambia, and many other countries. We need more investment in research in land-based financing, integrated land use planning, and also support to building urban land policies and institutions. Given the political sensitivity of the issue of land, we should support land reforms by clearly connecting such reforms to their impact on the economic growth and poverty eradication. Urbanization adds value to land. We should do more to show how it does so and how that land value can be, through policies, can be shared between public and private entities to steer sustainable development. We also need to do research on what would be the opportunity cost of not doing anything. I come from a medical background, and when looking at disease issues, you look at the implications of investing in prevention and control and the cost of not doing anything. In conclusion, I'd like to thank you again for your kind attention And I also look forward with anticipation to the outcome of the discussions and our continued engagement with you in the future.